mindset. So like, it's so easy to lose your confidence and then start spiraling and question yourself. And is this something I can do? Am I cut out for this? And it happens to all our guys now. So I'm usually there to pick up the pieces, but it happened to me and I didn't have anyone there. So I was sort of spiraling, like didn't know, whether it was for me. And, I had had a situation happen with a girl, had, a few things in my personal life that maybe I wasn't as equipped to deal with. So yeah, just ended up leaving. Like they sort of pulled me in and they were like, look, you're not enjoying it anymore. I was like, yeah, fair, I'm not. And they were like, do you want to just take a break? And I was like, yeah, cool. So yeah, I was jobless for like 6 months. In my first 2 months closing, I'd made like some really good money. So, obviously I'd adjusted my lifestyle a little bit, not like super, but I'd adjusted my lifestyle a little bit to that. And then post that, I didn't like the next probably 6 months to 8 months, I didn't make great money. So I was like, it was a bit of a high and then a low. And so, yeah, I was unemployed for like 6 months post this company. I was like, I want to do something. Like, I'm not sure what I want to do. And I'm like trying to think of all these different ideas. And then I was like, fuck, I'm running out of cash. I had like 2K left. And I was like, fuck, should I just try solar? And I'm like, I know how to do it, know what I'm doing. Like, we'll give it a crack. So yeah, I drove out to a suburb that I liked when I was closing. Door knocked and was like, yeah, we're this huge company. We've got blah, blah, blah. I was like in my garage, right? I was like, yeah, we're this huge company. We've got this many clients. We're doing this, we're doing that. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll have a look at your bills and blah, blah, blah. So I'd go back the next day, close. I think I got like maybe 2 or 3 clients through that, onboarded. And then obviously I had to find an installer.
And you had no fucking business at this point.
I had no business. Yeah. I had an ABN because I had the which is like our business number thing, right? So I had a business number. I had like a business per se, but I didn't actually have, it was out of my garage. So I'd registered the Google My Business listing, got all my friends to leave me good reviews. So I had like 5-10 good reviews. And I'm like, yeah, like we're this international. I had to come up with a bit of a story. So I'm like, yeah, we're this international company. We started in wholesaling, but now we're, direct to consumer because we noticed the gap in the market, blah, blah, blah. And so then, yeah, I was like, I've got these clients. I'm like, I don't have an installer. I don't have stock. How am I going to do this, right? So for the next couple of weeks, I was driving, like I put them for 3 or 4 weeks from when I'd spoken to them. So that gave me some time to organize everything, right? And so anytime I'd see like an electrician drive past, I'd write down the number and call them and be like, do you install? Do you know anybody that installs? So I think I did must have been like 20 calls or something, 30 calls. And then I finally found a guy that could do it. And I was like, all right, sweet, that's ticked. Now I need to find the stock. How am I going to get the stock? I've got no money. So I went to a couple of suppliers and I was like, listen, like I need stock. Can you guys give me an account? Because accounts are pretty common in Oz, right? And they're like, nah, unless you've got trading history, you need trading history. I'm like, no, like we're good for it. They're like, nah. And I was like, shit, okay. And then a broker actually called me that I'd used to buy my car prior. And he was like, listen, I've got a guy you should meet. And I was like, okay, what's he do? Solar. And I was like, yeah, cool. So it was actually this Chinese guy that owned a wholesaler. So I met him and I was like, yeah, like we're doing 20 sales a week, 30 sales a week. Like we're doing all these deals. If you want our business and you want to sell us stock, then you're going to need to give us an account. Because obviously I couldn't finance it, right? And he's like, no, back and forth. And then finally, like a couple of days of negotiating in, I like convinced him to get me an account. So I was like, all right, sweet, we're on. So installed it, like obviously got the stock on the account, installed it, claimed payment. And then it sort of started running from there. And then obviously, yeah, man, we went through like, cause I got to a point where I was like, I can't just drive out, spend a whole day knocking. And then tomorrow I'm closing for a whole day. And then I'm back to square one again. So I'm like, this is fine to like build up a bit of revenue, but it's not sustainable because I can't do everything, right?
You need to build a team around that.
Correct.
How long ago was this you started it?
2019, I think, 28, like end of 2018.
Okay, so what, like 7 years?
Yeah, roughly thereabouts.
And you mentioned before you've got 120 employees now.
Yeah.
So it's escalated very quickly.
Yeah, probably, to be honest, man, like not as quickly as it should have, because so where I'm from is Melbourne, and we were locked down for like 2 years through COVID. So to be honest, we've really only had like 4 years of actual, so I was in it for like the first year and a half. We built it up. I think we had like 20 people at the time. And then obviously went into lockdown, completely locked us down. It was like just me at that point again. And then obviously came out of lockdown, went back into lockdown. So it was a lot of that, like a lot of false starts. And then as we came out of lockdown, the final time, that was when it sort of, I felt like I was redlining for such a long time. And I was like, man, like, can we just, can we just shift up?
So you mentioned obviously before this where you've done a lot of personal development work. Do you think Was that prior to you starting this, which then gave you the ability to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to wing this and just go run with it? Whereas most people will be like, the biggest thing I get frustrated with people is like,
Sure.
they want to build a perfect business before they try and sell anything.
Yeah.
Whereas my approach is the opposite. It's like, sell it and then just figure the fucking thing out.
Yeah.
Because then at least you know you've got demand for it, right?
Yeah. There was personal development through the whole, like this personal development now, right? So it kind of went hand in hand. I think the mindset behind it was like, I've got nothing to lose, right? So I'm zero anyway. So like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to be zero again, right? So, but it was a big thing I used to speak about. Like I still would, but I'm probably not as much in those situations. I think sell the thing first, worry about the office later, worry about what color the business card is later, worry about the website later. I went on Fiverr and got a $200 website designed. Like I was like, man, that doesn't fucking matter. Like just sell, like build a customer base, and then obviously the back end follows. Because you can spend hours and weeks and whatever months on the back end, but if you have no customers, what's the point, right? So that was my thought. I was just like, let me just get out there, let me sell it. I know I can. And then everything else sort of followed. And I was like, because you don't know, right? Like when you build a business, you don't know how it's going to work in terms of, the back end. You have a rough idea, obviously you plan it and stuff, but you iterate along the way. So I think for me, it was like, all right, cool. Let's go sell, install, problem. All right, fix that. I can't fix all the problems prior to, do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I think you don't know the problems until you're in the problems.
Correct.
Which I think is why it's easier. Like I built my second business to 7 figures in 3 months. The first one took me like 3 years because I knew straight away exactly what to do, where to hire people, like all the shit that could go wrong.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
What would you say is probably the biggest challenges you've had in growing the business? Personnel?
Yeah,
you're labor intensive as well, right?
Yeah, massive. Probably me, like just kind of being like my progression, because your business is only going to be as big as you are, right? So the better you get, the better your business gets, and that's why I love it. And so I think me in the beginning, COVID was bad, because obviously that, like I felt like we had some good momentum.
And could you not trade at all during COVID?
Not really. That taught me a big lesson actually as well, because so obviously COVID hit. Most of my guys at the time were like UK guys. We had a few like, different countries, and then we had a few Aussies as well. So everyone was like, well, don't know what's going to happen. I'd rather just go back home and come back out to Oz when things settle. So yeah, we went from like 20 people down to like just me. And I think at the time I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to try, because COVID was a funny time for me especially, because I was like, there's so much noise. There's like, trading, there's crypto, there's all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, and my business couldn't progress, but I wanted to. And so, I tried to start an e-com store selling like solar related stuff, which did okay. But in retrospect, I mean, like if I just focused the time on just working through the storm per se, we would have been fine. I had a friend that still actually, so he owns part of the company that I was at originally. Yeah. And they just transferred to phones, and they were just ringing like the whole time through COVID. And they still maintained like a...
Could you still install during that period though?
Sometimes, yeah. So it was just the goalposts kept changing. But I think for me, the most important lesson was like, I had a guy sort of with me through the process. He'd leave and then he'd come back, and it happened a couple of times. And, like I was doing this e-com thing, then I was seeing someone, and, her family was involved in the government, and it was like, we can import like this PPE stuff. And I knew someone who could, and I was chasing that. And I was chasing like 3 or 4 different things at the same time. And the guy that I had with me at the time, he was quite switched on with like, websites and all that sort of stuff, like back end stuff. Yeah. And he was like, all right, cool. We'll make a website for this. Then we'll make a website for that. And one day I rocked up to work, and he was like, man, what are we today? Like, are we a solar company? Are we a fucking e-com store? Are we like, what? So I think that was a big wake up call. Cause I'm like, for me, I was like, what are we? Like, I'd lost track of the vision a little bit because of that fork in the road.
I don't know if you'd agree with this, but it's also one of the things I found is like, as you have more success in business, you have more options, and it's even more easy to be like, I'm just going to try and do fucking everything. And then the main thing then starts to struggle because you're massively diluted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think I think I'm really grateful that I learned that. I was forced to learn that lesson, right? Like if it had happened now where, you know, I'd had opportunities thrown at me and I hadn't really gone through that thing. Cause I think that to me was like, that just pushed that the vision was right. Like it was like, this is what you need to do, you know? And obviously then I just doubled down as we came out, and a lot of COVID was quite good as well, because it allowed me the time that I probably needed more so to focus on personal development as well. So I was reading a lot through, I was, you know, I tried to train, I tried to do the other stuff, but obviously that was a bit harder, but a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of trying to perfect.
Do you ever think that, for me, it almost doesn't even feel fucking real that like you were like locked in your house? I don't know what it was like in Australia, but like UK, we weren't allowed to go fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
You were just like quarantined to your house essentially. I remember a friend of mine owned a gym, and I would turn up to the gym dressed as a builder, and they would let me in, and then I'd take all this shit off and then just work out.
Yeah.
Like it was just like retarded stuff that you couldn't even fucking make up.
Yeah.
That like, it just almost it seems like another reality.
I wish I had that, man. I had to set up like I had to set up like this faux gym stuff. Like we mounted a cable to the wall, and like I just tried to, the bare basics, like in the backyard. So that kept me going through. But I just think, yeah, like it was a crucial period. It was shit because obviously it set me back a couple of years. But would we have been where we are now if I didn't have that, you know, constant, like, because every day, man, I just rock up to the office and I'd be like, all right, what can we fix? What can we fix? What can we fix? And so it was like almost just every single day was like brainstorming, what can we do better? How can we, you know, when we open, and then we'd open and then we'd close again because the restrictions would change. So yeah, I think it was a necessary part, because then as we came out, I'm like, all right, it's clear. Like this is the path forward.
So obviously, what's your main strategy in terms of getting clientele in business at door knocking?
Yeah. What's
the best strategy when you knock on someone's door? Like, what's the secret in terms of how you get this to convert better?
So it's difficult. There's not really, I mean, we just keep it basic, man. Like, so
do you like from our world, like we split test everything? Do you test like different kind of like intros and then track like how often you get told to fuck off or how often that, like, do you know what I mean?
You know, I did. And there was a lot of like A/B testing, and man, like we went from so probably 2019, the guys would go out and like 4 leads was a good day. Right. And now like guys are getting like 14, 15, like our record leads in a day was like 32, which in, you know, with context doesn't really make any sense to anybody, but with, you know, coming from 2, 3, 4 leads a day to 30 leads a day is ridiculous. Nice. So we don't really A/B test anymore, man. I think we just keep it simple. Like our strategy is probably different to a lot of other door knocking companies. Like the guys dress as they would, like they dress as they would on the weekend. They come to the door. There's no like, you know, direct like clipboard, like, hey, we're from XYZ. Like it's very just, hey, how's it going?
Informal.
Blah, blah, blah. Got to tell you what's going on. And then, so the whole pitch is designed to obviously grab attention and keep attention. We keep it super simple, super quick. There's a very quick close. And then, you know, it's just from there, spend 10 minutes with the customer, get to know them, build a bit of a rapport with them. So at least they're going to sit the appointment because you've obviously closed them pretty quickly.
Now, I'm not going to sound like Stephen Bartlett, but I know a lot of people coming onto our podcast and who are not subscribing but still enjoying the content. If I have one small ask for you, it's please hit the subscribe button. It'll help us a lot. You try and pick specific areas, more affluent areas, I'm guessing.
No, the opposite actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So the offer is nothing up front. So basically we install the panels and then the panels are paid off over time, right? So like when you hit a more affluent area, you don't need that. Care. Yeah, they're like, well, I've got the money. Like I can just do it when I want to. So there is a bit of urgency on that. We're in the area. We're going to move on to the next area. So whilst we're in the area, you can get the nothing upfront deal. So it works really well for people that are in the position where they maybe don't have, you know, the money to spend on it.
That's smart. And then in terms do you sell anything else on the back end other than just the solar, or like maintenance or anything else like that?
No, we are going to branch out eventually. But no, again, it's one of those things, man. I'm like solar, it's almost made me through that COVID period where I was like trying different things. It almost made me like just fucking so specific to like, yep, this is what we do. I'm like, cause I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to do 10 things and do them mediocre. I want to do one thing and do it super well. So that's what probably rebounded me back into just being like, just solar. We can worry about the rest later.
So obviously, and also your goal is obviously to go, you're in Australia at the moment, going to come into the UAE and then eventually America.
Yep.
Do you think there would be a big difference in terms of, I imagine you're probably not even allowed to door knock here. I don't know.
So he is going to need a different strategy.
Yeah.
America's very similar. So America's like, we've got our rednecks. America has their rednecks. Like we've got our more affluent sort of. So I think the way the two countries work is similar.
Why are you not targeting the UK? Because you got a lot of guys from there as well.
Yeah, America's look. I said to the guys, so a lot of the companies been around building buy-in, and a lot of the companies been around like personal development in terms of me being a coach to them as well. And so there's a lot of different things that we do for their buy-in and for them to progress. So I have discussed the option with some of the guys, because obviously not everyone wants to live in Oz for the rest of their life. Like some of the guys want to go back home and whatever it is. So I have discussed the option of the UK, but I just feel like with the UK, it's like, it's probably not as big of a market as the US. So I'm like, if we're going to tackle one,
go with the big one.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, if I'm going to put 10K into something, I kind of want to get the best return rather than putting 5K there, 5K here, and then getting a split return that's probably not as good. So again, it's sort of, it goes back to the idea of just double down on what is going to work, or what you know.
How do you think you'll differ the approach then in the UAE? Would that be more phone dialing?
Yeah. So I think we're going to probably go for a more traditional approach where we just run some Facebook ads, run some Google SEO sort of stuff, and some marketing related stuff, and then obviously get people in that way. Again, because it's not super saturated with Oz, if you did do something like that, you would be successful, because there's obviously a lot of people that want the product, but you're competing with a lot of people, where I don't think the competition's going to be as strong here.
Yeah, well, I don't see solar panel anywhere here. I don't see it anywhere in the Middle East. And also you've got pretty much endless sunshine.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense to me.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's that. And that was why I think it made the most sense to do, because obviously developing economy, loads of people moving in, loads of people, Dubai is just expanding, right? And the UAE is just expanding. So I think it made the most sense to do the UAE because, again, I had the ties here. It felt more comfortable because I understand the country now. And so, doing the time difference isn't super big as well. It's like 7 hours. So I'm still available in the mornings, our mornings here, which are the afternoons for Oz.
Right.
Whereas again, the US, man, is just so like, because it's a day difference and it's like 13 hours or something, it's like hard to keep up.
Same as like for here to PST is like a 12-hour time difference.
Yeah.
So it's problematic in terms of dealing with.
Yeah.
So you're hiring a lot of salespeople. Where do you hire and recruit from?
Seek, Facebook, and Indeed, which I think...
What's Seek?
It's basically like an Indeed for Oz. Okay. So it's our bigger one. So yeah, just the typical channels, man. Like a lot of time I will spend. We've got Facebook groups for people that are traveling in. So you have your Irish around Perth.
So is that where you're trying to get people coming in who are coming in like traveling for a year or two?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And the reason is, so in Oz, the problem is you've got two sort of categories of people where one person goes to uni or college and then the other person does like a trade, because trades are huge in Australia, and trades you earn really good money from. So the problem for us is when we hire Aussies, you've got someone who's either been to uni and wants to pursue a degree in what they're doing, or you've got someone that's done a trade and wants to do, if you've spent 4 years doing a trade, why wouldn't you continue, right? Especially if you're on an apprenticeship and then you're qualified and you're licensed and now you earn 4 times the amount, you'd rather just stick. So we kind of get the middle that, maybe is probably less motivated because they haven't done either, or they've done one and dropped out. Where when you get someone come over from the UK, America, wherever it is, they've done their degree, but they've decided, all right, cool, I'm going to do 2 or 3 years of travel and then maybe come back. So we're getting someone that is experienced. We're getting someone that probably has better chat because they've had to navigate Southeast Asia and they've had to
random conversations. Yeah.
Maybe they were homeless one night and they're like, shit, what am I going to do tonight? Like, so you get a lot of people that are, like with us Aussies, we don't really leave Australia, right? So for us, traveling is like maybe a 3-week trip in Europe and you go to like you go to Mykonos, Santorini and Croatia. You know, we don't really do whereas in the UK, you grow up and you go to Spain, you go to Turkey, you go to Portugal, like these are quite common places to go. So there's a lot more sort of, I guess what I find is people from the UK grow up, you know, with better chat than maybe us Aussies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say Irish people are very good, I think.
Yeah. Irish as well, Scottish as well. Like obviously again, it's just because there's so many people in such a small place, and then you've got such easy access to different countries where Aussies would just go to Bali, and Bali is just Australia V2, right? So for us, that's why we opt, and it's a better culture as well. Like, you know, we don't, like when you come over from the UK, you maybe don't have as many ties as you would in Oz. So you don't have 17 different commitments on a Friday night. So everyone's keen to go to the pub, you know? So it's easier to build culture when we're all quite similar, you know?
With the team you have, and obviously kind of building culture is a big part of that.
Yeah.
How are you mentioned before, like you coaching the team, like personal development standpoint.
Yeah.
How are you doing that from a practical sense? Do you have an all male business?
Do I have a what?
Is it like an all male business? I imagine it's predominantly.
Predominantly, yeah. There is a few females, but yeah, predominantly male. But it's more just the way I've always set it up is we've set up the structure so that the base is there, but the base isn't huge. The commissions are good, so people want the commissions, and we want people that are driven. And so when we bring people in that are driven and want commission, I'm not a manager anymore, I'm a coach. You know, so I don't want to be like, all right, cool, you go and do this, you go and do that. You know, why didn't you get 5 leads today? I want to be like, all right, you got 5 leads today, what can we do tomorrow to get 6? You know, and so rather than like pushing them from behind or leading, I can't lead from the front anymore because I can't knock and I can't close anymore because I'm super busy, right? So I'm like, all right, I need to take like an almost like coach sort of standpoint so that I can see the whole play and I can be like, all right, cool, this is where you're struggling. And I'm at that point now where it's so easy to do that, right? Like if, you know, one of them will come back and say, oh, this happened today. And I'm like, all right, this is your problem. That's what you did. This is what you need to do tomorrow. They do it. And then I'm like, there's your credibility, right? So to answer the question, meetings every day, a lot of training and development outside, like a lot of phone calls as well. Like I think people don't realize you need to build a relationship and you need to build a strong relationship, and they need to trust you and they need to know you've got their back. And I like to do that through small things, and I want everyone to win around me. I don't just want to win on my own because it sucks, right? You don't just want to be like, all right, sweet, I'm on a fucking jet now and haha. Like you want everybody to be on the jet with you. That obviously started with you, right? So for me, it's listening to little things, and you know, like for example, one of the boys, we have a group chat where it's the managers, and you know, I'm like, all right, cool, we'll use this like as a bit of a vision board, right? So post in what you guys want. Like if you see something cool, you see a GT3 RS and you know, that's on your vision board for later, post that in. And, you know, it goes well, like it goes off. And one of the boys posted in a pair of LV shoes, and I promoted him like 3 months later or whatever it was. And I'd kept that in mind. So I got him the LV shoes as the promotion present as well. So he was gassed. And so it's little things like that that obviously open up the relationship. But then as well as that, I have to ring them 100 times before they ring me twice. Right. Cause they're like, oh, I don't want to bother him. I don't know if this is a big enough issue. And for me to be like hands on deck, I need to be the one building the relationship. Right. And I say that to a lot of them because they're like, oh, my reps just won't ring me. Like when they get in, you know, when they're having trouble or whatever it is, I'm like, well, ring them, you know, and ring them 100 times because your 100 times, they'll ring you 10 times back. So it is putting the foot forward to start with and then building the relationship. And then obviously it just makes it easier because I rub off on them.
So you mentioned like a lot of the audience who listen to this will probably have sales teams as well, have a similar issue. How have you found like pulling people back up from like underwater when their head's just fucking gone? Because you see it all the time in sales where people just have an absolute fucking meltdown. So like one of the things even we do from a hiring perspective is people do a personality test.
Sure.
And I look for emotional stability. Okay. Because if they're like a 0, I'm like, this is a bad fit. Because like I know like sales is always going to be kind of up and down. Yeah. You have to have the resilience to kind of handle that. What's your kind of like strategy with that?
Do you know what? I think it's interesting you say that because a lot of the people that do really well are like super ADHD, right? Because sales is like instant gratification. So if you've got that like, and it's funny, man.
Dopamine hit you're looking for.
Yeah, and some of the people that also do really well are people that may be on the spectrum a little bit, because you don't have that like rejection, you know.
You've got no filter. Yeah.
You don't deep it. Like you're just like, yeah, cool. And you're not like, oh, is this person going to hate me? Because you don't really realize social cues, right? So they get there and they're like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and they do really well. And once you teach an autistic person a process, they just do the process, right? They don't deep the process. They're just like, yep, cool. A plus B equals C. The way I deal with it for people that are on the spectrum are easy. People that have ADHD are harder because they're obviously fucking like, they get 10 sales in a week. They're like, yeah. And then the next week it can crash. I think it's the same as like, if you were to ask me, how would I deal with a customer that said they want to think about it? And I think there's too much emphasis on the actual, I want to think about it. There's not enough emphasis on structuring it right in the first place.
To getting to that point.
So, you know, I used to, like when I was closing, I sort of had, like at the first company I was at, I sort of had a manager here and there. He was my mate and we worked together at the time. And, you know, I'm like, I rang him one time and I'm like, I just keep getting, I want to think about it. It's like, what do I say? And I'm like looking for this secret sauce to be like, yeah, like I'm going to bust this sales technique out, like an Andy Elliott sales technique or something. And they're just going to sign. And he's like, the best way to not get, and I want to think about it, is to not get it. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? And then I figured it out a couple of years later, because I'm like, if you just structure the pitch properly, then you're going to avoid most I want to think about it. So if you've done everything correctly to that point, you're going to mitigate it, avoid it, or make it easier for yourself to deal with. And so transferably to people that have meltdowns and to people that have these like dips, I catch the dip before it happens. Or like I train the managers and the leaders to catch the dip before it happens. So when we do see like maybe a couple of catalysts for what may be a dip, or a couple of catalysts for, you know, someone starting to lose their head a little bit, you jump in, you intervene, you try and get them out of the mud so it doesn't happen.
Now, if you enjoyed this clip and you're a coach, creator, or a business owner and you want help in terms of how to scale your business using ads, AI, content, marketing, a lot of things we talk about on the show, then hit the link at the top line of our description in the YouTube video. You can book on a call with us and we'll walk through the whole process, audit your business, and show you where there's huge, huge opportunities for you to scale.